Welcome back. Another episode of Endmyopia podcast style. Today we're talking to Matt, who has been a very active member of our Facebook group and forum for a long time. He started out with -5 diopter myopia. He's now back to below 1 diopter for the most part, not wearing glasses most of the time. He has his own video series on his own channel discussing the details of his improvement. Here we have a bit of a summary discussion about Matt and going from -5 diopters to almost never needing glasses.
I started at -5 diopters just about 6 years ago. Got glasses when I was 10 years old, and a little over 20 years later, stumbled upon to eyesight improvement. And I say that I started in April of 2014. I actually don't know because it all kind of happened haphazardly. And I just have a frame of reference that it was light in the evenings when I started going on this. So I know that it had to be springtime, but it wasn't hot yet. So it couldn't have been June. So around close to 6 years now. At this stage, I'm really no longer wearing glasses, mostly because I can't stand how minus lenses feel anymore. I get about 20/50 without too much work, sometimes better. I have some moments of 20/20 clarity, more so it averages around 20/40 to 20/50. And that's 5.5, close to 6 years of work there.
Yeah, I can definitely appreciate when you say work. Like that takes a little while, right? How many did you start out with just the quota diopter reductions, or did you make bigger reductions in the beginning?
No, what happened was I, again, here about 6 years ago, just one day opened up my spam email, and in there was a link to a video about somebody selling an eyesight improvement program that was a pretty bad internet scam sort of thing. Yet in it, one of the things she said that resonated with me was glasses are making your vision get worse. And I had always questioned that because from the first pair of glasses I got, and every time after when you go back to the ophthalmologist and they're stronger, I would have 2 to 3 days where they felt like oppressive. I would get a headache and feel dizzy, almost like I was going to throw up. And all that the ophthalmologist ever said was, oh, you just have to get used to it. And
Yeah,
from the very start,
that's one of my favorite lines, like whatever it is, because I get all these emails from people going, well, I really have giant headaches now that I got my new glasses, but all they said is you'll get used to it. Like I've had those so many hundreds of times. That seems to be something they teach them in school.
I don't know, but that experience made me always wonder, why is the thing that you're giving me making it get worse? Because I go back to a year later and it's worse. So I listened to this video, which I could tell was an internet scam type of thing, but it got me asking the question again, which I'd been asking all along. And so I just start trying to take my glasses off, which doesn't work at all. When you have -5, it's like you can't see the toys that your kid has left on the floor right in front of you. It was so bad. But, and this is my reference for springtime, is I'm sitting outside after we get our daughter to bed, and I hadn't found myopia, I hadn't done anything at this stage. I'm just playing with this, and I have this devotional open that has some text on one side, some scripture readings on the other side. It has Our Father. So it's, this far from my face at -5. Can't read this side. This side, I know what it says. And so you look at it, you blink, and suddenly I can see it. And then I look at the other side, and suddenly I can see that. So I start reading without my glasses, from the very start, having just stumbled upon this, it was really convenient that this was in the springtime, because I don't think that would have worked in cheap indoor lighting during the winter. And then about a week later, I'm walking around with the -5s on, and they feel like those too strong new glasses. So I say, forget this, and I walk to where I have my old pair of glasses on that were, I don't remember what they were, but half diopter lower probably. Put those on, and everything's completely clear. So I figure something just happened, right? Then I actually chose to stay away from the internet first, because there's so many weird things out there. So I went to the library.
Ooh,
Right, imagine that.
that's crazy. Crazy talk.
And checked out any book that had vision or eyesight in the keyword search, which were not very helpful, because you know what they get into is the Bates method type of stuff, and they don't tell you why something just happened. And I knew that something had happened because I can see better. I read those and got some frustration as a result, because they go off on tangents. This one book had a story about a guy who was reducing his glasses. He was an optometrist, and said he was meditating, and then when he finished, he stopped and he looked around and everything was just clear, and he never needed glasses again. Right? And I'm like, I don't know if that's true or not, but how is that helpful to me? So
meditate, man, is what he's saying. Yeah. Just do it.
I'm not against that, but I don't know how that helps improve my eyesight. So then I go back to the internet after I've read probably 3 books, and eventually find the predecessor to Endmyopia, which helped me to put all the pieces together. And from that stage, I just started reducing from there. It was months later that I went to the optometrist, and I'd only gone back to one, maybe half diopter backup. And he gave me, I think it was -3.25 in the non-dominant eye, down from -5, and something less than that in the non-dominant eye. And even the first day I had those, I could see fine. And so I just reduced from there bit by bit.
How big of a role do you think those first reductions play in wanting to continue on this path?
It was a lot. I mean, I was talking about those first pair of glasses again, being a kid, I just never ever wanted them. So I noticed toward the end of the 3rd grade that the blackboard in school was blurry, and I really didn't want to get glasses. So I asked if I could sit a little closer, and then figured if it's whatever month it was at that time, you know, April or May, and we ended in June, I figured if I could just get to the end of the school year, time-honored strategy of procrastination, that I could then not have to deal with it because it would be summertime, which actually worked. I got to the end of the school year, go through the summer, and don't have to get glasses because we're outside and I don't have to read the blackboard outside. And one Saturday in the 4th grade, I was not paying attention to what I was doing, and I asked my dad what time it was when I should have been able to see the clock. And so he took me to the ophthalmologist, and we got glasses, which, you know, if with his frame of reference is what a parent should have done, because you don't want your kid to suffer and not be able to see and function, and that made sense. Nobody knew about vision improvement. And it was that experience that I put them on, and they were so strong, and I felt bad. I didn't want them, and I just wanted to see clearly, and that's all there really ever was to it. That the first moment I found that I could go back in the other direction, I wanted to get all the way to not needing glasses.
Do you ever wear glasses still at all for anything?
Yeah, I mean, I have them in the car.
How many diopters are those?
I've gone back up to minus 1.25 for that.
Yeah, that
So
sounds about.
I had hit minus one. I reduced too fast along the way, which a lot of people do because we get excited and forget that the metric really ought to be how clearly do I see, not what are the diopters. And I got stuck at minus one. Eventually, this was probably 3 years ago, and went back up to 1.25. Then got down to, well, 2 years ago, I think it was. I'm driving back from vacation wearing the minus ones, and it's a 6 hour drive back from the beach to our house. And as I'm driving, I start going like this. And my wife actually looked at me next to me like, what's wrong? There's something with these glasses. I can't, they hurt. So I had like this tension across my forehead. And it was different than before because they weren't too strong in the sense of overcorrected, but they just did not feel good. So then I go down to minus 0.75, and that was about a year. And around the beginning of October 2019, so just 3 months ago here, I had the same experience with the minus 0.75. So I tried minus 0.5 because the gap between no glasses and some was still too big. But it was like 10 days that I wore those, and they just didn't feel good. So I said, forget it.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to wear them anymore.
I remember that. I remember that distinctly because same thing for me. Like I was around one diopter and I was wearing them less and less. It took me a lot longer than it took you. And I would wear them. It got to the point where there was no point. But then I'd still wear them at night, especially at night, motorbike rides in cities. And it got to and I loved them for that because they would just give me this like over sharp, punchy, like super sharpness that I didn't really care, right? Like my vision had improved so much. Like I was like 20, 20, 20, 30, 32 or so during the day. So I put those on at night. They were too strong, like 1.25, definitely too strong. But if I'd only wear them for like a 20-minute ride, I could get away with it before my eyes would start hurting. And I enjoyed like the crazy sharpness. But then I remember distinctly one night I put them on and it just made no difference. And like exactly what you said, it didn't feel right. It wasn't really sharper. I had generally the same level of clarity. And I was really actually sad about it for a moment because I'm like, I was missing that putting those things on and just getting this like laser sharpness. And instead they just felt like when you put on the wrong kind of glasses. Yeah, that's pretty much, that's kind of when you're done. Like that's when, right? Like there's just nothing left that you can wear. And then it really just boils down to patience and active focus.
Yes. So I found the stuff that Dave has been putting up on the forum about active focus and his approach the past like week or so here to be helpful as well.
Cool.
And this really just try to relax and just let yourself see what you see. But it's just that last little bit of getting from, I know I can get around, I really don't need them most of the time, I can see well enough, to it's super clear all the time.
Yeah, and sometimes like things that you obviously know, like really cutting out the screen time, any amount of this distance really can mess with you. Like I cannot really do screens at this distance. I mean, I can, but I can tell that my eyes feel not right even after 10, 15, 20 minutes of that phone screen. And then another habit that really still I have to continue to keep breaking is when I get really focused, like you creep closer to the screen.
Sure.
Like those little things can really stop you at the last diopter. It's usually little stuff that gets you, because some days are fine, right? And some days are not. And then it seems like you're forever stuck in this limbo of that
Oh
last
yeah.
diopter. But what gets you stuck in that limbo is like the little things, like creeping in on the screen, like the phone time, sometimes a bit of a tweak. And something I talk too much about probably is like, if you have some kind of a hobby that
Yeah.
creates like a need for distance vision, like a serious need for distance vision, that can also be helpful.
Yeah. Wintertime's tough on that.
Winter time's no good. Snowmobiles.
Yeah.
Where are you at?
I'm in Virginia. We're at, for some reason, 60 degrees today in Virginia on January the 11th.
Yeah, no snowmobiles, man.
Not right now, but I will say that the kids have really helped me to stay away from screens for a couple reasons. One, the knowledge that letting them have too much screen time will force them into glasses, really, as a parent, causes me to push them away from it. And we give them some screen time. It's hard to cut it to zero, but we're pretty vigilant about having limits on that. And so with that, you have to do stuff with them.
Right.
Which, so get home from work at regular time, 5:45, 6 o'clock, and it's 2 more hours before the kids are beginning to be settled that I can't really look at a screen. So it's regular stuff. You do bedtime story with them and dinner and play a little bit after dinner, but there's none of that just screen staring stuff. And it gives me a nice long break after work, plus the drive home, that has been good.
Do you ever play with plus lenses at all?
I'm starting to. I had a little bit a while back, and I just got some plus 0.5s 3 weeks ago, maybe. And they seem to help. I think the key would be, the point of getting out of glasses isn't to continue looking at screens with strong plus, right? But if they help as a little bit of a defense against the close-up that I have to do, that's a good thing.
And you can also use them for distance. And the idea here is, sometimes, right, you get stuck in this, or your visual cortex, for whatever reason, your biology, your eyes, your visual cortex altogether just seem to be fine with where you're at, right? Like whatever challenge you seem to introduce isn't actually being received as an induction to make a change. So sometimes, at higher diopters, I say, just get the next reduction and wear it during bright sunny days, just to vary that focal plane that one little bit, to reintroduce that change in focal plane, right? Because sometimes that change in focal plane is what restarts the biology to be tweaking and adjusting. So if you wear really low plus, and this is not for other people watching or listening, this is not general advice for you people, but for you specifically, Matt, like if you put on like a half diopter plus for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes on a familiar outdoor walk, right now you went the opposite direction and you added more blur. Now, when you take them off, it's like when you put on minus glasses before, right? Like because now your biology had to work harder. That plus half diopter introduced blur that shouldn't be there. And that shouldn't be there feeling very often does translate into more active focus and more attempt at seeing more clearly. And then you take those off and you repeat that same familiar walk, and you should get additional clarity. Sometimes I wouldn't do too much of that, because plus lenses, the defocus, the peripheral defocus is a little bit weird. I've heard more stories of things not working well with those, so I don't generally make the recommendation. But if you've come back all the way from -5, you know absolutely what you're doing. And if you just do a little bit of that, just to force a focal plane change that makes the biology go, whoops, I need to focus on this,
Yeah.
basically just in reverse from the minus.
I have not tried that yet, so we'll add that.
Try it.
Yeah, I mean, the last bit, the frustrating part is there are times where it's clear and everything looks so good, and then it goes away. You're like, oh, so close.
Yeah. And it's really easy to just be stuck there for a long time. I got stuck there for a long time too. And I played with Plus. It helped me in certain points. Some people respond really well to Plus, and I've never figured out the thread of what works for some people that can just wear Plus, like what I was talking about, you wear Plus half diopter, they go even up to a diopter and wear that like for extended periods of time.
Yeah.
And they get a ton of improvement, but that is never translated into something that works consistently for people. So I can't recommend it. It's just one of those things. If you've gone all the way, right, like you've reduced 4 diopters of myopia, and now you're just stuck on that little last piece. Sometimes playing with that, and it's not about wearing them a long time. It's if it works and if you like it for 10 or 15 minutes, then do it again the next day, right? It's not about doing more of it at one time, but just the repeated frequency of introducing that sometimes helps.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I got to get you all the way back to 2020 so I can, be like, hey, look at Matt, right? Like,
I know.
None of this 2040 stuff.
We'll get there. They've seemed a lot to me, the Plus lenses idea, kind of like a treadmill. There's these stories of people who they run on a treadmill all winter long, and they think they're staying in shape, and they kind of are. But then they go out for the first run in the spring, and there's all these hills and things, and their gait is different, running on actual real life roads or trails versus just the constant same and altered gait of a treadmill, and they can't do it. They're tired, and they find the first one really hard because it's not the same thing. So Plus are a tool, but it's not the same as looking outside.
No, and for sure. And then there's Todd and his approach of just using Plus for close-up, and the idea that you can reverse all your myopia without changing any of your habits. And the only thing you need to do is put on Plus. I love Todd. He absolutely has the right conceptual ideas, but for a while he was really popular, and for a while I was getting a lot of email from people going, well, what if I just wear Plus lenses? That's gone away. Like for whatever reason, that's now no longer as popular. But there was definitely a period where I repeated 1 billion times that is not a surrogate, right? You're looking for another quick fix, trying to avoid the actual problem, which is this, and you not using your eyes. And I just haven't, like, if that was true, I would love that too, because I love being a screen addict, to be perfectly honest. So if I could just throw on Plus and fix my myopia and have perfect vision, I would recommend it. But there's just so much stuff that happens that where the Plus just doesn't work, and then it introduces new issues that then you have to fix before you fix your myopia. So generally, I rant about Plus.
Well, because it's a quick fix thing. And again, it was the point of the whole exercise to not change anything at all and continue looking at screens all the time? Or was it to actually live life?
Yeah, thankfully that's gotten less popular. Whatever that was, for like a year or so, that was a really consistent theme that people were asking about Plus lenses.
Okay.
So what else? What else would you say is worth noting about this journey? I mean, you spent a lot of time, and that's a massive change, right? Like from a -5 to.
It definitely teaches you something about what it actually is to set a long-term goal, and one that's meaningful to you. Because there's times that I've been a people pleaser type of person, and you have a teacher or a boss or manager or something, and your vision is whatever you think that person wants to hear. So those types of long-term goals don't work when you're just saying something somebody else wants to hear. But then you embark on something that's clearly going to take a long time, whether it's 2 years or 5 years, or people starting at -8 or -10 that are looking at 10-year time frames. It teaches you a lot, because there's going to be plateaus, there's going to be stuff you have to troubleshoot. And you have to have some internal reason to stay at it for a long time. Otherwise, you're going to quit. And I think that that's going to be really helpful as I look to do other stuff in life.
Yeah, that makes sense. And is it different though? Like, do you remember any particular reductions that were kind of a highlight moment? You said you went down to -3 pretty quickly, right? 3.7.
Yeah. That one was funny because, and I should have gone back to the optometrist since then. I still haven't, which is frustration. You know, he sat me in the chair with the prescription, and I'm supposed to buy this $500 pair of glasses. When I'm like, I'm not paying more than 30. So this was the chicken's way out. But what I did was I said to the lady trying to sell them to me that my eyes are dilated, and I can't even see myself in the mirror to look at these frames. So I'm gonna have to come back. And then I bought them online, and I've bought every pair online since.
Yeah.
But he told me that, you know, this is a big drop in what I'm giving you. He said I was over minus. And so, of course, I knew by the time I went into the optometrist what was going on. I knew it was writing me a lower prescription. But as he said, you know, it might take you 30 days. It's okay if it's hard to see out of them. And I got that first pair of that big reduction, the -3.25s or 5s, and I mean, I could see 20/20 out of them right away. So I was pretty excited then because it was just like, wow, this works. And then, of course, I thought, you know, wow, this is so good. I'm going to be 20/20 in 6 months. And because
do you read Andrew's posts in the forum? Yeah, he was on that whole thing, and I didn't know how to tell him, right? Because I love excitement. It's great, but I'm like, okay, it's also highly unlikely. It's possible, it happens every once in a while, but it's also, I hate to see the crash, right? When you realize you went all the way down and you didn't really actually. A lot of people get that. And the younger you are, right, the more that excitement, the less you're jaded, the more you're like, yes, I'm doing this, I don't care. Poor guy.
It's tough. I mean, you got to stick at it for a long time. And
yeah. What about -2? You remember -2?
What would happen is every time I would try to make myself wear them for a full 100 days at least before I got the next ones. But I'd get to somewhere around day 60 or day 70 and have this bump in clarity where I knew it was working and I could see better. And I always made this mistake of assuming my best vision was my base vision, kind of, and saying, okay, I can see really well out of these sometimes, therefore I'm ready for the next ones, and go down. And that worked until I got to -1 when I just got stuck. And it was no longer fun because I'm walking around, active focus doesn't work anymore. There's stuff I can't see when I need to be able to, and you're like at a restaurant trying to order something off of a menu that's on the screen and you can't read it. So you get behind somebody and listen to what that person orders and order the same thing.
Yeah, I used to like at coffee shops when they had things, I used to turn on my phone camera and zoom in on the menu, right? Like I went through that whole thing too. Yeah.
I don't know that I do remember any particular reduction until that, where I got stuck there. And then I just made myself go up and stick with it longer than I wanted to. And that was about a year at each level, 1.25, 1, 0.75, and then October I ditched them.
Yeah, that's, and then you made some videos too. Like, I actually like your videos. You're one of the very few people who did their own videos. Now I figured out that when we do it in this format, a lot more people are willing to have conversations.
More people will.
Yeah, whereas the format of just staring at a lens is not for most people really. It's not their thing. So I enjoyed your videos and I enjoyed the progress reports. But at the same time, like I was thinking for a moment, is it necessary? Like we probably don't really need to do this kind of podcast thing, but I I think I empathize because I started at -5 also. Like we have
Yeah.
a real similar starting point, and I also was super stuck at the last diopter, and there was no guidance. Like there was nobody to say you can get past the last diopter. So I really, really, really questioned. For the longest time I thought that's it. Like whatever the mechanism is, just doesn't seem to let me
Just
get
stop.
past this thing. Yeah, but it works. It
And
just takes a little yanking at it sometimes.
I've heard some people say that you can't like get past your initial level. Um, and I met a behavioral optometrist here. I just happened to be in the office building where his office was. I didn't even know he was there, and so I knocked on his door and talked to him for a few minutes. And he said something similar, like, "Well, yeah, if you're doing too much close up and you shift that, you probably can improve some. You probably won't get out of glasses altogether." So, okay, we'll see.
And that's the thing with behavioral optometry. Like I used to advocate strongly for
Yeah,
them. I met a couple that were really receptive and really interested, but then I found that behavioral optometry doesn't mean we get it. It just means more open-minded, doing more vision exercises, dealing with other kind of conditions, and trying to do a little bit less symptom treatment. But
yeah,
then I was looking at how many behavioral optometrists do I know that don't wear glasses, and it was none. So
yeah,
I kind of stopped. And then there was a little bit of an issue with some of them really charging a lot of money for advice. So I was like, well, it's kind of hard to back that up with science and like what we're doing in Endmyopia, like science and success stories, right? And I'm like, well,
sure.
show me either of those, and I'll be interested why this 3-session thing is $600, right? And
Yeah,
so I kind of stopped recommending the behavioral thing. We did have a conversation that I'm also going to upload with a optometrist who is all on board with what we're doing, and she does her own thing. She's a little bit more into like some weird stuff, but she
yeah,
says the same thing we do. This is a real interesting conversation you'll have to watch too, because she
sure
says
thing.
she was brainwashed by her education, and at this point she doesn't understand how all of optometry doesn't seem to have a clue that glasses cause myopia. It was fascinating.
It's tough. I mean, I know at least to some extent when you're in a profession, there's accepted knowledge bases within that profession. And if you think something outside of that, it might be okay, but you have regulatory bodies that you have to watch. And an example for me is I have my own set of notes that I keep when I meet with people, and then I have the set of notes that are for the regulators, and they're not the same.
Hmm.
And I wonder if you're an optometrist and you're thinking, you know, all this myopia stuff is true, how you deal with that inside your profession.
Yeah, yeah. It's watch that other chat. I'll
Yeah,
try to get it up
yeah,
soon because she's really interesting. Like she doesn't sell glasses, so she refers out all of her. She calls them patients. That yeah, whatever. But she refers them out to other optometrists who sell them glasses, and she's super diplomatic. And I think that's how she gets away with a lot of it because
yeah,
obviously what she does isn't wrong, and she doesn't say cure myopia. She doesn't guarantee anything. She doesn't
yeah,
shove it in people's faces. And I think the really neat thing, right? Like you're in a physical location, and if you're not competing with the people around you, I
yeah,
don't know if she does that on purpose or if that's just how it came about. But I thought it was genius because you're doing a different thing, right? So you have a different market. And then whenever
yeah.
people need glasses, you just send them to your colleagues around you and nobody gets mad. I thought that was pretty brilliant.
It's a good idea. It would
Uh,
help a lot for if I'm thinking about what would help folks earlier. Some level of support definitely would help a lot. I'm sure that without the website, I wouldn't have kept going because there's nobody around you to tell you that you can do this. And I don't know anybody in real life who has done anything with their vision. And I'm 6 years almost into this, and in 6 years, probably 5 people have asked me, "Why aren't you wearing your glasses?" You know, well, less than one a year.
Yeah, nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's
Yeah.
it's a silly thing. Like for one, it took me, I didn't realize till we started doing podcasts last year, right? Like Endmyopia has been around for freaking ever. I didn't realize almost every podcast host, their first question was like, so what is myopia? And
Yeah.
it took me that, it literally was that where I was like, wait, the very name of our site is like totally over people's heads. Right? Like
Yeah.
people don't even know what myopia means. I'm like, oh my God, like we're horrible at marketing, right? Like it should be called something totally different because myopia is already too technical of a term. And then once people even know, it's just like, yeah, but I can throw in contact lenses or wear glasses or get LASIK or whatever. There's no need to go through Matt's 6-year adventure of trying to get rid of them another way.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
I never connected to that though. People who just don't want to do it. Like I was saying, I was probably 6 months as a kid of hiding the fact from everyone that I had blurry vision because I didn't want to wear glasses. You know, what's frustrating about that is if somebody at that age had explained to me what active focus was and to play a few less video games, I'm certain I would have done it. And how long would that have taken? A few weeks to learn that and then get out of it. And instead, 20 years later, you find out you can do something about this, and it takes you over 6 years to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Well, the good news is that you can fix it though, right? Like there's plenty of
Yeah,
other things where you're like, you find out and then it's unfortunately too late, right? If you would have known. So
yeah.
yeah, positive.
No, it's all good. And it's the personality changes stuff is an interesting conversation.
Oh man, I have a list. I have a little list of topics that I've been holding back for a long
Yeah,
time. Another reason because there's some podcast people who were pushing me to talk about this stuff where I'm like, I don't have a scientific basis that's strong enough for me to say this in a serious fashion, even though anecdotally speaking and commonsensically speaking and kind of a little bit of trying to get people to think about other reasons to get rid of glasses.
yeah,
Yeah, the personality thing, and I have various other topics that like anxiety and depression is kind of a big one that has lots of other reasons, right? Like glasses are not the main reason that you're depressed or anxious, but it can be a significant factor.
sure.
And I think we'll bring it up, even though it's almost a little unicorn farming potential.
Well, that's the tough thing. You know, those first books I read, one of the things they would say is people become nearsighted because they have some kind of emotional childhood trauma and there's something that they don't want to see. So the world gets blurry. And it's not impossible that that could apply in some cases. But I remember reading that and being so angry at this book. Like, I had the most perfect childhood that any person could ask for. Just very, very blessed and fortunate that I had a great family, you know, lots of good stuff. And there was no trauma. There's absolutely no reason that I should have gotten nearsighted, except too much close up causes focusing muscle spasm. You know the story.
Yeah, and my problem with those things is the real cause is known, right? Like, so when
Yeah,
people talk like that, I'm like, okay, you're not filling in the blanks. You're not looking for solutions for things that we don't understand yet. Like, this has already been figured out. Like, there's no reason to go here because pseudomyopia and lens-induced myopia are, for the last 5 decades, have been discussed and quoted and cited tens of thousands of times. There's no point
yeah,
to go deep fishing, and then it gets some people, right? And it makes me feel extra bad because I know about the trauma thing because people have said that to me, like that's what causes myopia. I'm like, okay, the problem with this is you're gonna get somebody who had childhood trauma and is myopic, and it's gonna, I mean, it's gonna bring up things that who
yeah.
knows if it's a good idea to bring up, all in the name of fixing a thing that's not gonna get fixed from, going back there. right? And so
Yeah.
those things make me upset too, because for one, it's not helping, right? It's not addressing the cause, but then it's also putting people in a spot that they don't
Yeah.
necessarily need to be in just to fix their eyes.
The comparison I kind of like is the idea of a hyper responder. And you have this in sports and athletics. And a really good example is the bodybuilders. You have these guys who, no matter what training program they use, would look super magazine picture perfect. And they go out and they say, I did this and I got this body, and therefore this is the program you should use. When most people are average and not hyper responders. So I don't disbelieve the idea that there could be some people who very rapidly fixed their vision, got out of a bunch of diopters. I'm certain that's possible, right? Lots of strange things happen. Then they say, I did this, therefore this is how you do it. But you don't know with one person if he's a hyper responder or if he's onto something. And the whole thing with myopia is you have enough people who've gone through this that you can troubleshoot issues. You can say, here's what's normal, here's what's average, here's what's better than average, here's what's below average. And there's so many facets to look at, which tells you it's real versus it's just some person who happened to respond really well.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I'm a big fan of the crowdsourced nature of this whole thing. And then every once in a while, somebody comes up who uses the Endmyopia name and throws a little spin on it and tries to make a new thing, right? And every time it annoys the crap out of me, not because competition, but because exactly what you're saying. Like, it's not one guy doesn't usually have the answer to these kinds of things that involve biology and a whole range of scenarios where, like, my vision improvement story is not relevant, right? But if we add yours and 1,000 other people and everybody tries a little bit different thing, eventually we get to a place that continually is correct because it continually gets questioned and experienced and tried out and changed. For sure, I think that's a better approach.
It's the difference between the natural and the teacher. If you, as a musician, as an example, you would go to these teachers who were incredibly gifted and just brilliant musicians, and they tried to explain how to do something, they couldn't do it because they just got it. So they didn't need anyone to teach them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Versus the teacher understands that you really learn it by teaching, because you try to explain something, this person doesn't get it, so now I have to figure out how to put it into this person's terms. And I do that many hundreds or thousands of times, and now I have a body of techniques, which is what myopia is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, and I'm glad that it's been helpful for you. Like, I think these conversations are a missing, or were a missing piece of the puzzle, where we're connecting the circle all the way around. Like, this is what the actual experiences are in a real sort of, we're chatting context.
I think so. And I mean, I felt lucky, really, the way that I just had some initial hunches that were right. In reading without my glasses and looking at text that I already knew what it said. I don't know why I did that, but that taught me active focus. And then I forgot to say this, when I had that experience where the -5 felt like they were an increased glasses strength, I tested this out and I put them on and looked at text in front of me, and it was overcorrected, right? So sharp, I couldn't see it. And I looked at it and counted to 5 and watched it go from too strong to readable. And my hunch at that time, before I had connected the dots with hyperopic defocus, was that this is training my eyes to see worse, because I can't see it and now I can. So I better stop doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because then you'd look at a distance and the distance would be more blurry.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is kind of simple stuff once you, the worst part of this whole thing is the hunches and the stumbled upon, and it's called Endmyopia, and we're still not doing the best job in the world to be findable and discoverable, right? Like you have to, like you said, you got lucky. That's still,
Yeah.
that's the one that hurts me the most, because I know, obviously you're right, but I'm failing at doing a better job at finding a way to put this out there in a way that it's easily found.
It's hard. I don't know. I mean, I perchance happened onto an email that got me thinking about it. And then when I did start searching the internet, the website was just there. I mean, it only took a few search engine clicks to find that one. And I was reading that against all the other stuff when you search improve your eyesight that had these weird things. And of course, I tried them, because most of us probably tried everything. And the Endmyopia was the only one that actually explained why any of this works or what's happening.
Yeah.
And it also didn't promise, the thing that looked appealing was it didn't say, do these exercises and in 3 weeks you'll get back to 2020.
You know, I want to make those videos so bad. Just trolling style. I see that when you said the scam style thing, I'm like, oh, I want to make one of those. That would be so much fun.
Because you know people will click on them.
I know they will love it. 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And all, you know, like breaking my glasses and things flashing on the screen. And
that's right. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Getting it out there is tough. I mean, I've had not much success personally in the videos I've done. I shared some on my own Facebook page with that series I did. It's like, this is how I'm going to introduce this to people. Well, like one person that I know actually asked me.
Yeah, it's definitely highly personal. But I think this is a good summary. Let's leave it here for people so we don't make them watch for too long, forever. The takeaway is, right, -5 to almost there. We're around the last diopter. You're gonna get past it, and if you put in the work, you're gonna get the results.
That's it.
That's it.
It's not complicated. You just have to do it, and I think for people is focus on clarity, not on the numbers. And it does not hurt you to sit at higher diopters for longer than you want to. It won't slow down the overall progression.
Right. Yeah. Listen to Matt, people. Matt knows. All right, Matt. I appreciate it. Thanks for being on. And I will also link to your video series if people want to watch more of your detailed experience videos. And yeah, awesome. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. I hope you enjoyed this chat with Matt. I will try to remember to link below his channel and his individual improvement reports. He started out at a real similar point as I did. I think this kind of improvement is really worth a lot because there's a lot of diopter we're talking about. I plan to do more of these. If you like these, leave comments below. Let me know. Like it if you like it. Subscribe if you want to see more of these. And I'll see you in the next one.
Meow, 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 meow.